It is my great joy today to introduce Susan Gott. I've known Susan for more years than I care to count. She's a superb glass artist. We have been graced with a show with her artwork here today, in fact, until December. Please come in, wander around, talk to us about it, take something home. And this is Susan Gott.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. I love being in Virginia Beach.
Susan, you've been in glass a long time. Why glass? You're an artist of multiple disciplines. Why did you settle on glass?
Oh, glass drew me in early on. I used to paint, drawing, painting. I did ceramics for a number of years, but I was always drawn to the transparency and luminosity of glass. So I started with stained glass and quickly learned painting on glass, firing it, acid etching it, and quickly transitioned into doing the larger sculpture. It was always that quality of light. And with cast glass too, it has an interior quality that is unlike anything else. That translucency, that depth. You can blow a piece of glass and have the surface decoration or some interior design, but the cast glass has all of those qualities and more. So interior, the exterior, the soul of the piece, it has lots of layers.
Describe cast glass so the watchers can understand what you're talking about when you say cast glass.
So my work is hot cast. There's also kiln casting. There's lots of different types of casting, but a lot of people will refer to this as hot casting. So I'm using various types of molds, primarily sand molds. And this glass is scooped out of the furnace at 2,300 degrees and poured hot into whatever form or design that I'm working with.
How thick usually?
Oh, a couple of inches, sometimes more. Of course, the thicker it is, the more difficult it is to anneal or cool properly.
I was curious, do you suffer breakage?
Oh, absolutely. It takes a lot of experimentation, and then the colors have to be compatible. There's the coefficient of expansion so that all these parts and pieces and colors work together.
What was your most defining moment in glass art?
Most defining moment.
You're on the spot here.
Yeah, here's that pause. I don't think there's been ever one defining moment outside of learning about hot glass and taking that first gather or scoop or pouring.
Then you were seduced.
I was.
Just say. Okay.
And I did kind of change my life at that point. I was like, wow, this is it. I felt like I'd finally found my medium. Because I'd done jewelry, I'd done watercolors and oils and ceramics, I'd learned to weld, I'd done a little bit of everything. But when I picked up that blowpipe or that casting ladle, it was life-changing, and I did everything I could to access hot glass. I decided to go back to graduate school to get my master's.
Cool.
And just kept on that path, that glass path.
See, there was one defining
There
moment.
wasn't one defining moment, yeah.
That first pour, that's cool. You have worked with some of the most famous names in glass art. You have been around the glass art world for a long time. Neither one of us will admit how long that time has been. Who are the artists that you consider distinctively important in glass art that you believe in?
I would say they're more the folks that have influenced me the most.
Okay.
Paul Marioni, number one, because I had taken classes with Paul when I was in my early 20s, then met him again years later. His influence has carried through my work consistently.
Define the influence. What was?
It's a way of thinking about making art. It's not about glass. He used to say the good, the bad, and the ugly. Glass artists will go to a lot of great lengths to make something in glass that actually might have been better to make in another material. So it's constantly made me question, what is it I'm making? Why is it I'm making this object in glass rather than something else? And then Henry Halem was my former professor at Kent State University. He also kind of honed that aesthetic a little bit more and really made me think about what it is I was doing. Then there's folks like Yuri Suhajek from Prague, the Czech Republic. One of the other casters that's really significant in my world is Bertil Valine. And I got to work with him at Pilchuck, along with several other people over the years. I'd gone to Pilchuck many times, but I really got to know him there. And his work is just amazing. Bertil is amazing.
Yeah, you light up when you talk about Bertil. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's a deep respect there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Tell me about defining moments for art glass as a whole in the U.S.
Well, the history of the American glass movement really started with Harvey Littleton and Dominic Labino.
Okay.
And they got together and started melting glass and blowing glass, and then they taught those first workshops in the early 60s. And from those workshops, the individuals in those workshops went out and were educators and spread all over the country. And
it grew.
Yeah, and it just grew. It was a family tree,
Okay.
the glass tree.
So the contemporary art glass world really began in the 60s as its current rendition,
Right.
although glass art's been throughout every history.
But the American glass movement really started with those two individuals. It's so important.
How about Pilchuck?
Well, Pilchuck is a spinoff of that from Dale Chihuly, and he decided to start the Pilchuck Glass School. I'd say now, the more recent times, the last 25, 30 years, Pilchuck, absolutely. And of course, there's Penland as well. Penland in North Carolina, that's another major influence in the craft and art community.
What do you think of the Chrysler Museum?
Oh, the Chrysler has such a wonderful collection. The historical collection is top notch, and then of course the contemporary and the hot shop. It's making a difference.
It's making a ripple.
Yes, absolutely.
The sea of art glass and the whole.
Well, and the influence that it has with young artists and the educational programs that they have there.
What do you see in the next 20 years?
Just getting so difficult.
It is.
It's financially difficult. It's environmentally not cool anymore. We have a big carbon footprint as glass artists.
Okay.
And I know some glass artists that are walking away from glass for that very reason.
Well, the rest of the world needs to walk away with them in all of their other industries before, a drop becomes a ripple of change. Any person, man or woman, going into their own business without prior history, basically, you were starting out fresh, experimenting, trying to figure it out. I was doing the same about the same time. It's going to run into challenges. And have you had a few?
Every day.
Same.
From building your own equipment to electrical issues, knowing how to run the equipment. I've had a lot of great studio assistants along the way, but a lot of times they try to tell me how to run my shop. I know better than they.
At least you hope so.
Yeah, it's ongoing.
What I have to say about Susan is I've known her a long time. I love her work, and I'm hoping that y'all have some scenes of the art that's in the gallery over here. And the attention to aesthetics with Susan, I mean, even this morning, we're getting ready for this, and she's adjusting every light. So there's no detail in any of her work or any of her development of a piece that isn't important to Susan. It shows at the end result of her work. Some of it's breathtaking, some of it's just very appealing, and some of it's important. Come see. We look forward to seeing you at G Marie. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. My pleasure in being here.